What's going on, folks? I am Goat. Welcome back to Warframe. So, I want to go on my own little journey here, okay? So, this is officially my 500th part, right? Warframe part 500 for me. So, I want to go back on my own little personal journey here. I started out this game much like anybody else, just look cool. I had seen I'm sorry, I have something in my eye here. I had seen the initial trailers for the game and I thought, man, that looks really cool. I was a console player at the time, and honestly, it was before I had become a cripple, so I was still working full time, and I just heard early on that it was pretty grindy, and there was some monetization stuff with it, and I had 5 kids, so it was just like, you know what? I'll come back to this at some point if it's still around. Fast forward to 2020. This game is the first game that I applied to my YouTube channel. I had no idea what the fuck I was doing, like many others. Came in, went through the school of hard knocks for I don't know, probably 4 or 5 months. And well, hell, not even 4 or 5 months. It was probably about 3 months. And I was introduced through a Twitch streamer to this very, very lovely guy named Drenka. And Drenka, for the longest time, throughout my clan, was one of those people who was, for lack of a better way to put it, kind of like our Warframe guru. We joked around and called him Warframe God. He had been playing for a while. He'd been playing for about, I think, 5 years. I think he started playing in 2015. So he'd gone through multiple system changes, multiple, introductions to open worlds, and had really got a good feel for the grind and running high level, high enemy level. And this is back in the time when Mastery 29 was the highest rank that you could get, and he was like capped out at that point, just waiting for the next bit of content, like a lot of players were back in 2020. Even now, there are still players like myself that, we get to that content cap and we just kind of rinse and repeat until the next bit of content hits. So we wait for these dev streams to come to tell us, hey, all right, this is the cool new thing. We wait for events to drop to tell us the cool new thing, and then we wait in anticipation to see what's that cool new thing gonna be, right? So I came into the game, and during that time, Drenka had been farming, Plague Star and stuff like that. I had no idea what the hell Plague Star was. I was too early in the game. By the time I even had a rough idea that events existed, Plague Star, or not Plague Star, Scarlet Spear. So I didn't even know what the hell it was. Thank God, honestly, because I'd have probably got my ass whooped and probably thrown the fuck game down because Scarlet Spear was Scarlet Spear. So, but Drenka was the guy who introduced me to the rough idea of the grind of the game, some basic modding stuff, but he was one of those players that with all the knowledge that he had, he was really good about doing something that a lot of people don't do when they're helping people. And that is, when somebody asks you a question, answer with a question. So basically what I mean, and what turned me into a tinkerer, was him asking me questions as a retort to my own questions. It's also kind of what taught me how to kind of synergize my playstyle as far as weapons to the frame, sentinels, and so on. So this very lovely Canadian man, who is beyond polite and who was very patient with my ignorance, to say the least, helped me farm all sorts of stuff. Didn't just hold my hand through it. There was a couple of times he did, but didn't hold my hand through it. But he kind of, like a college professor, basically walked me through the theatrics and the insanity of the modding system and where to get into, and trade chats, and or the trading market, and hell, I ran with Drenka for over a year, and like myself, Drake has got some physical issues and stuff, so his gameplay had slowed down. He's always helping like other players, so he still plays, like hell. I mean, I can show you. I'm sure it hasn't been that long since he's played. He's pretty good about playing. Let's see if we can find an old Drenka here. Well, he may have not been on for a minute. I may have missed him too. My eyes suck. Oh no, I know it hasn't been that long. Oh, did I see him? I thought it. Yeah, there he is right there. He played a day ago. Now I'm shooting this on May 9th. But yeah, he played a day ago. Now, just for reference here, I never in my wildest dreams thought that I would ever surpass Drenka in Mastery Rank, which again, I shot a video about Mastery Rank and just how good or bad it is and what its function is and all, and so on and so forth. But Drenka was never one to be, oh, I'm the big dick, high, high mastery guy. He was just, farm what he wanted to farm and go after what he wanted to go after and go after what was easy, and is a true grinder. But then you get into this shit that I never ever thought that I would surpass Drenka on. And I still haven't yet. But I'm climbing. I'm less than 700 hours away from surpassing his time played, which is wild to me. And as you can see, missions quit. We talked about this in the whole mastery video. Quit rate. He actually has a lower quit rate than me. I think mine's like 6% or something like that. Average cipher time 4 seconds. I've actually got him beat by 1 second on that one, which amazes me. Like me, Drenka's got, just genocidal kill rates. He's got a really good weapon accuracy. But, this is a guy who has played 5 years longer than I have. And this is partly why I bring it up, because like I said in the, how important is mastery rank video, like, this is a guy who's played 5 years longer than me, but I'm only 700 hours behind him. There's people that have played for 2.5 years that have basically damn near the same amount of gameplay time that I do. Another person that is, in my clan, Monster. We've had him in plenty of videos, right? Just go to my clan for that. That's easier. Where is he? Where is he? There he is, right there. So, Monster literally started playing this game 7 days after me. Now, Monster's time is very, very constricted in a lot of ways. He has a iRacing league that he runs in. Plus, he works very long hours, so he only has a few nights a week that he can play. So because of that, he can't necessarily run into the grind as hard as he wants to. But this is a guy who literally started playing, like I said, 5 or 7 days after I did. Yeah. Pretty wild. Pretty wild. And the reason I bring all this up, because, like, my buddy Joe, Cheese God, right? He started playing 1.5 years after I did. Okay. Super grindy dude. Super grindy dude. 1.5 years after me, and he is 800 hours behind me. So, I mean, like, and he's, what the hell is he? He's a legendary 1, I think, now? Yeah, he's a legendary 1, almost legendary 2. And again, it's that grindy thought process, right? But I lead all of this back to this. I've tried to help people. It's what led me into doing tutorial videos, because like I said in, the mastery rank video, like, why, I don't need to do tutorials. I enjoy doing tutorial videos because I know that my building style is a little weird, and like my shard usage is strange and just the way that I do things is strange, but it always leads me back to Drenka. One of the things Drenka used to tell me was that, you don't have to build to what everybody thinks is the right way. You just have to build to what works for you, And so I've really adhered to that. Now, I run completely different frames than Drenka. Drenka's like he likes running, Zaku, Mesa, Nyx, he runs different weapon types than me. Like he's a big fan of like the Cerberus and then the Kana Prime. There's another frame in there. I know I have seen Valkyr is another one I've seen him run quite a bit. You know, and I understand it. Each one, like over the years, I've learned to understand why people run the frames that they run. It's just for my particular uses, I just kind of have a different way to go about it, right? So, like, you know, he also told me another thing. Once you get so much stuff in the game, you have a hard time choosing what you want to play. So you either run with mains or you run with groups, or you just kind of pick, right? And I'm more like I run with a group kind of player. So like what you see in the top 23 frames here is my usual go-tos. There's only like 3 other frames that don't fit directly into that go-to, which is Octavia, Revenant, and Nezha. Now, I don't solely go to those, and I actually try to lean away from those because they're kind of unkillable in a lot of respects. Like, Octavia is very killable, but she just destroys everything, and she's, like, just super broken. So, like, I use her for, like, farming acolytes. Just, you know, just go sit in a survival, destroy the shit out of the map, and just farm the fuck out of acolytes if I want steel essence. Revenant's my assassination and Netracell frame. You know, Nezha is my, you know, disruption and, you know, just general, I don't, you know, Archon hunt frame, stuff like that. You know, but the list is forever changing. Like, every time I come in here, this list is always modified in some way. You know, but like, ages ago, not even ages ago, let's say 2 years ago. 2 years ago, you would have not seen Frost, Hydroid, Trinity, Chroma, Caliban, you know, who else? Nidus, Volt, Grendel, Ureli. You know, hell, even in my top 23, Sevagoth. Gara. Nova. Like, this is why it's ever evolving, because something changes in the game. This is where I gain a huge appreciation for what Digital Extremes does with this game. It's because they're forever evolving stuff, whether it's with augment mods, with new arcanes, something always changes the game up, right? Something always just changes things enough to make you go, that's actually kind of fucking useful. You know, or makes you turn around and go, okay. Perfect example. A General Light rework of Frost. Albeit Frost didn't get the one thing more than anything else that he needed, which was a larger energy pool for the Prime version. Frost did benefit from Arcane Battery. Frost also benefited from an augment that gives him Overguard. You know, I remember the days when the helmet system didn't exist. And people were always complaining, oh my god, man, I wish I could just replace at least one ability on a frame. Now, granted, a lot of people when Helmet first came out were griping, you know, about, oh man, some of these abilities suck. Well, you know, one prerequisite ability from each frame, some are good, some are like meh, some can be used usefully. And in the case of like my Frost build, I use Citrine's Fractured Blast, which seems like a really, really odd duck to throw in there, right? Like, it really does. Like, Frost is really energy hungry, but you couple Fractured Blast with Equilibrium, Energy Nexus, Energy Siphon, plus Arcane Battery. Okay, these are all based solely... Oh, and Omar's Hatred. These are all solely based around getting and keeping energy. Okay, so just on the basis of because I fucking can, and this video is going to be as long as I feel like making it, just going to go into Ani. I don't need to do anything really crazy. I might drop an energy pad just to speed this shit up depending on where I spawn. No need.
Deserve your respect. Honor them with quick deaths.
Wait till the clock starts ticking for Wellspring. Bingo bongo. Good enough for government work, baby. Here, hold on. I need my orb. Cool. Okay, so.
They have just shut down all systems.
This works so hilariously funny. Okay, so, I mean, basically, we just come in here and mark these poor bastards. Just mark as many of them as possible. So we're automatically thinking, well, this is all bad, right? You may notice an energy pool non-factor at this point. Now, part of this turns into the fact that, yes, I'm getting energy and health orbs, which is great, but Frost's passive is what makes this so fucking good, okay? So the more people I have popsicled, the better my armor gets. So over time... Here, sorry fellas, gotta reload. Here, hold on. Here, you need to be marked for death.
Life support incoming.
So the more people I have popsicled, the higher my energy gets. I mean, 1,287 at this point. That's just because of how many people I have frozen. And it will continue to go up. That's the thing, is that this will continue to go up. So when I see people complain about Frost's energy pool, I just think to myself, there's a way to get around that. You know, you've got Arcane Battery, you can put armor from armor mods on him. You know, there's a lot of cool stuff to do, but all of a sudden, now I've got another cool frame to play with, right? I've got a frame that that doesn't really require a ton of upkeep. So albeit the build looks really stupid, right? Like the build looks absolutely dumb. But if I have to get super spammy and, you know, armor stripping enemies or, you know, constantly creating snow globes or, you know, trying to help my squad by giving more overguard that way, you know, because again, it is a negative efficiency build, no question about that, because I want ability strength. So it's definitely a negative efficiency build. So yeah. Like, you gotta have a way to fucking combat that. So if you want to get super spammy with this fourth ability, you can absolutely do it, and all you have to do is create health and energy orbs. And then use armor. Guess what? Armor. Throw some armor into the fucking equation. Oh yeah, by the way, guess what? The more popsicle people around you, 50 armor each person. It's a good time. I mean, like, there's ways to get around it. Chroma's another perfect example of that, and I've talked about this, but Chroma's another huge, just positive example of just how stupid you can get with armor. You know, and the usage of Arcane Battery. You know, now yeah, Arcane Aegis to try to keep the shields from breaking so you don't take too much health damage, because obviously, you know, by running Arcane Battery, you can't run something like Arcane Blessing, so you do kind of have to buffer yourself a little bit, but constantly, you know, retooling and refreshing, you know, Vex armor is always a good thing. So adding some armor, using Hunter Adrenaline in case you have any overguard stuffs, but Arcane Aegis to help kind of, you know, the shields from busting up too much because you don't have to take health damage with him. It all plays into this crazy level of you have a metric fuck ton of energy to work with, which means you can run a negative efficiency into the fucking ground, and you will not have energy problems once you get going with your armor, which doesn't take much with Chroma. But he's also very high damage output. So, like, he kind of doesn't give a shit. Like, you know, and I still think Chroma needs a rework, okay? Like, I am 100%, again, we may have already heard this at this point. You know, I'm shooting this, you know, the morning of when the dev stream is going to be hitting, if I remember correctly. Maybe a week off on that. That's right, I'm maxed out. I'm maxed out. There, well, kind of. Got some.
They have just shut down all systems. I'm sending life
Okay,
support
let's go find
capsules
people.
your way.
My God, if I could just shoot people in the fucking face, that'd be great, wouldn't it? There, Jesus Christ. See, so like, we're just gonna, you know, chuck a melee over here, chuck a melee over there. Good times. Chuck a wolf sledge. Bye. See ya. I mean, like, the damage output from this is absolutely stupid. And you don't even have to blow up. You can just hit people. You can see nice little million points of damage pop in there. It's like the closer they are, the less damage they take. Stop it. You know, 9.3 million. Nice subtle, you know, nice subtle damage level. But you'll notice, my energy is just at a ridiculous level. I'm sitting at 1,300 energy right now.
Life support incoming.
Hi, fellas. How you doing? Yo, so as you see, I'm sitting here at, 1,179% armor, and 926% weapon damage output. And this is all from shooting a gun and chucking the wolf sledge. So, and as long as you pretty much just stay mobile, it's very hard to die this way. Okay, now, can Chroma get his ass shot off? Sure, of course. But with that much armor, it's much harder to do. And so I've got him in here, pure weapons platform of survivability, as long as you stay mobile. Gyre was a frame. When she came out, she was awesome for like the first 36, 38 hours, and then they nerfed her to the fucking ground. And it wasn't until they released her augment, Cathode Current, when it brought Gyre back almost to where she was. Kind of like when they nerfed Dante down, but then at least gave him his shit back. We had to wait for an augment for Gyre to come out for her to really get back going. But Cathode Current actually increased her function at a diminished level, which sounds insane. But this is just one of those things, all of a sudden, she's very high on my list because she's a fucking killer. Nova got her rework. Nova was simply something that I was a squad support of, either speed up a fucking mission or slow down a mission, depending on, what level what level my squad mates were in my clan, so on and so forth. Now, she's a murderer. I mean, she was before, but now she's really good at killing. Protea, in my opinion, so many people slept on Protea for so long, but Protea is so good. She's such a good frame. Kalervo has, a nice couple of really, really powerful functions. Loki's just a great sleuth frame, or just pure tank, just depending on how you want to build him. Dante with, Noctua is really good, and you don't even need Noctua. You can actually run Nourish in place of Noctua and just run their Grimoire instead and do just even more crazy shit, because then you can focus on his fourth ability and, really kind of bump up his ability strength even more. And, yeah, you can do some really nutty shit with Dante, with or without the book. Gara has gotten good thanks to the Exalted rework and the functions of not having the stats stick with that bullshit. Which was nice. Aegis Gale for Hildren just made Hildren, who was already good, that much better. I just really wish they wouldn't have come out with that dumbass helmet, because I'm not a fan. Citrine. Citrine's one of those frames. And again, I'm going through this for a reason, right? Because, oh my god, there's so many good frames. There's so many good options. But Citrine, where Fractured Blast comes from, energy and health. Pure sustainability from that standpoint. Damage reduction and health regen. Throwing the Rainbow Bright butt plug out there to fuck everybody up. Her fourth ability is really good, but honestly, I just preferably like to keep shields up. And, armor strip, because the way this is set up, basically once all multi-augmented kicks in just a little. Because all you need to do is get to 330% and you're good to go. That doesn't take that long with multi-augmented. It's 69, 68 kills, something like that. 72 kills. But either way, armor stripping, status procking, purely self-sustainable frame. Good with squad, good by yourself. Doesn't fucking matter. That's the kind of shit I like. You can run it by yourself, no problems. Trinity, another one of those. I've shown this build. The first time I showed this build, it was just huh? What? This build is absolutely stupid. And the only thing that this build does not like, okay, is Toxin. If you're going into a mission with Infested, this is probably not the mission that you want to run. Or with Scaldra, or Tekrot. Now, there are ways to get around it. You can dip Multificiency since her durations got buffed, thankfully, and you can put in, what is the Toxin one? I forget now. Arcane Resistance. Want to Toxin? Yeah. Sorry, there was something in my way. Arcane Resistance. You basically just resist toxin damage. And it completely alleviates the problem, and then you can still run this build. So, Toxin Resistance and then Arcane Resistance. Yeah, it's a good time. You will lose a little bit of efficiency, or not efficiency, duration, but honestly, with her durations being buffed and building for durations anyway, pretty good. Hydroid. You know, Hydroid with his rework completely woke this frame up. I still see people that complain that the puddle doesn't exist anymore, and for the life of me, I cannot understand why. That was literally Hydroid's most useless ability. I mean, just the simple fact of turning into a puddle. Yeah, just the simple fact of turning into a puddle and doing such minimal impact damage to an enemy. So you could just sit there as a puddle. And if you're lucky, you move and, you know, an enemy falls in and you just start dinging them with tiny amounts of impact damage. Now he's like the king of fucking viral and corrosive damage. And keeping himself alive with armor and being able to cleanse himself of status effects constantly. He's become exceptionally good. Caliban's rework absolutely made this frame 1000% better. Is he the best frame out there? No, but can he survive quite a bit? Yes. Sevagoth. 2 augments come out, all of a sudden everybody loves Sevagoth. I liked Sevagoth before the augments. He just wasn't in my top tier of stuff. He was pretty good. But he wasn't in the top tier. But man, 2 augments come out for Sevagoth, all of a sudden he's fucking badass. 1 augment comes out for Varuna, and all of a sudden she's nuking exceptionally large areas of a map. Right? Wukong, normal fan favorite. But honestly, the Exalted rework is actually where Wukong woke up for me. I used to run Wukong a lot. I actually ran, which is really like, this is the worst use of Wukong ever, but I actually used Wukong for like Kuvalich hunting when I first got into Kuvaliches, because you could just kind of fly around maps and do whatever the hell you needed to do, and having 3 immortal abilities plus, you know, basically your own on-call specter at all times with his first ability just was very handy on staying alive. The problem is that Wukong's an impact progenitor, so unless you're looking to do a bunch of opening enemies up for finisher damage, you know, for finishers, it was really useless. Grendel. Grendel, in my personal opinion, was a fucking joke. Okay? Prior to his rework, Grendel was a goddamn joke of a frame. He was just... I don't want to say he was horrendous, but he was right above that mark. Like, he did the job. You could play Grendel, but man, his rework just made him so good. And then they put out that Gastro augment for him, and with a couple of funny little tweaks, you could do some really silly shit. Zaku. I mean, since Zaku's release, Zaku has just been a really good frame. It's hard to knock. Like, Zaku was, you know, like, Zaku came out not too long after I started playing, because, like, it was... You know, what was it? It was Heart of Deimos when Zaku came out. So, yeah, I mean, it was like, you know, the Heart of Deimos quest came out. We got the, you know, Cambion Drift. And then not long after, we got Operation Orphix Venom, which is when Lavos was released. So, but no, when Zaku came out, like, I had no idea what I was doing with this damn frame. I farmed him, I built him, and it was just like, oh, okay. Volt. Now, Volt really hasn't changed that much, except for the function of electric damage, and most specifically the Shock Trooper augment. So how I have my Volt build is a damage-reducing Shock Trooper build that's based on shield regen. Now, yes, you can see I have Arcane Battery on here because I needed to make space somewhere for what I was doing. So, instead, in lieu of running Prime Flow... And yeah, this is negative efficiency, by the way. But in lieu of running Prime Flow, I'm just running Arcane Battery, and guess what? An Armor Shard. That's it. And yeah, there's 2 Armor Shard, or there's 2 blue shards here. One for shields, because I wanted more shields, because I was playing off of shield regen. This seems really, really dumb. Okay? I get it. I get it. It doesn't make any fucking sense. But see, that's the beauty of it, is that it doesn't have to make sense to you. It just has to make sense to me. Now, if you want to try it, by all means, it's actually really fun. It's a longer duration, so using his 2 is much more incentivized. But you can just zippy zip with a melee through a map and just kill the fuck out of everything and not die doing it. It's a pretty good time. Now, Nidus has moved up. Nidus has moved up because I think Nidus is, albeit slow, okay? Nidus is a very, very slow frame. But Nidus is also kind of one of those god tier frames of he ain't dying today. And a lot of people get confused on how Nidus works. Okay, really the only thing that you've got to understand is that Nidus needs 15 stacks, 15 mutation stacks at all times. How you get mutation stacks is his first ability. Now, you can combo Larva, which is his second ability, with the first ability to build up those mutation stacks quicker. If you run his Augment Abundant mutation, you can get all the way upwards of 300 mutation stacks. Every time you die, you lose 15 mutation stacks, but you get 50, you get revive. You basically just don't die. You lose, you get half your health back, and you keep going. And the way you survive is by linking to an enemy. And you just basically redirect damage to the enemy. Now, I kind of got crap for when I did my video for Nidus's Parasitic Vitality video by saying Nidus had reached a new god tier of survivability. I just want to point out a couple of things here. The reason that I say that, because I understand, you don't need a ton of health. You don't need the 23,000 health that you're going to get with this particular build. You don't. But the more people that are attacking you, if, like, let's say you're focused forward and there's a bunch of enemies coming behind you and they make it through the Garden of Death, right? They make it through the goopy, ravenous garden and they're being attacked by maggots and they're still shooting the shit out of you, and these are like level 5,000 fucking enemies. They can do some nice hefty damage, and albeit you're redirecting 90% of that damage to the poor soul that you're linked to, that health gives you a nice little buffer, because even if the person that you're linked to doesn't die or dies, you still maintain that health for a short period of time. Basically long enough to link to somebody else. So, hell, you can link to enemies with Overguard, but if you do it to an Eximus, they'll just start attacking you, which is funny as hell that they start damaging themselves while they're trying to hit you. But this basically just gives you that extra little cushion of survivability. Is it necessary in any way? No. No. You could just put another fucking range mod on here. You really can. You 100% can. Just give yourself more fucking range to play with, more ability strength, whatever the fuck works for you, more duration. You do you. Sky's the limit. But is this a nice little kind of cushiony pillow of survivability? Yeah, it is. Again, it doesn't have to make sense. Ureli basically turned into the water-based version of Nezha. Completely different set of stuffs, right? Completely different set of stuffs. But Merlina has basically turned into Warding Halo. Warding Halo does slash damage to enemies whenever they get too close to you. As a multiplier, which this doesn't even show the multiplier, by the way. But there is a multiplier. Basically, if you're being attacked and you cast Merlina, the health of Merlina goes up. Now, it doesn't go up as exponentially as, Warding Halo does with Nezha, but it's still the same general function. 90% damage reduction, I have an invulnerability time when it breaks. It has a pretty specific health value set by ability strength, and yeah, if you take damage while you're casting Merlina again, it's going to compound and multiply it a little bit to give Merlina some more health. But Merlina does attacks, throws its own sea snares, which is also the first ability, which causes damage vulnerability to other enemies. Riptide, now that it doesn't throw enemies all over the goddamn map, is so much more useful, especially by using something like Breach Surge and Sea Snares combined, makes enemies just cease to exist. And again, Breach Surge isn't the thing that's supposed to be there, it's the Aqua Blades. But personally, I just don't dig the Aqua Blades, so I found something that fit my uses better. Nezha, like I said, Warding Halo, a fuck ton of damage vulnerability. If you do Divine Spears builds, there's a few different ways to go about that. His first ability gives you extra, basically, parkour function and also cleanses status effects when you run across your own fire, so on and so forth. Revenant, Mesmer Skin and Thrall, you have your own little army of dumbasses that run around and shoot people, and you kind of don't die. Good times. Octavia, like I said, broken. Just absolutely broken. Temple is an interesting one, and yes, Temple is dropped down because I just find that Temple's kit is very fun, first of all, but it's kind of redundant. Much like Octavia, hence why they're actually right next to each other. But much like Octavia, very redundant, albeit a very cool kit. Cannot knock Temple's kit whatsoever, but kind of a redundant setup to where it's just like, here, do this, 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 and I'm a weapons platform. It's Kemple, wow, Kemple, yeah, that's the thing. Temple's kit is very fucking powerful. Just not quite as active as I want to be. Right? Like, you know, your go-to is whip Lizzie out and start flamethrowing everybody. Okay. You don't have to, but it's the funny thing to do. Corvex. One fucking single arcane has made Corvex. You couple Force Crucible. I personally have been using Ophinum Eyes, which has been a good time. And then Universal Fallout, coupled with Arcane Battery and building into a bunch of fucking armor. This is just basically, I have a shit ton of armor. I'm going to regen that armor by using Equilibrium and then getting Universal Orbs on top of that. And this just works because you're completely, it's like Valkyrie and Hysteria, just way less speed. You know? And you drop a couple of pillars and everything behind you just explodes. You know, so you focus forward, drop a couple pillars behind you, and just everything fucking explodes. What part of that doesn't sound like fun? You know, but again, it's redundant, right? It's just here, I'm moving very slow, I'm gonna just shoot this big radioactive beam of death out of my chest and make everybody into popcorn, and people behind me turn into popcorn as well. Now, Jade is a fun one. The only complaint that I have about Jade is the movement mechanics. I so wish the movement mechanics were like Titania. If the flying movement mechanics were like Titania, Jade would be up at the top of my front of my list of frames. 100%. No question about it. Jade is a very good frame. I just do not like the flight mechanics. Especially on controller. It's literally it's left bumper and A on an Xbox controller. So it's a little annoying. Korra. My personal opinion, some people will agree, others will disagree. Not having to run stat sticks is fine. Okay, absolutely fine. Korra just likes to beat the shit out of people or go farming. Wisp. Excellent squad support frame. Excellent solo frame. If you really just don't want to die, just jump up and down a bunch. Nobody sees you. Everything else is just really, really, really fucking good about Wisp. It's really kind of hard to shit on her. Just saying. Like, the worst thing about Wisp is Soulgate. And even then, the fourth, you know, that new augment isn't terrible. But, Soulgate's the thing that you usually subsume over anyway. Titania, great frame. The Pixie frame. What else do you need to know? Saren, the cootie frame. She likes to spread the cooties and kill people. That's what she does. Mag. Name says it. She magnetizes. She deals with magnetic stuff. Right? She magnetizes bullets into enemies with a big bubble. Polarizes everything with magnetic damage. You know, just yoinks people like, they're metal, and she's pulling them with a magnet. I mean, it's what she does. Crushes people like they're metal. It's good time. Mag's just a good frame. Really damn good frame. Zephyr. The air frame. I mean, come on. It's like the last airbender in a frame. She's damn good. Baruch, the monk frame. Just kills everything. Again, I will say it so many times. Baruch is just one of those frames. It's like, and I know, I went through the whole thing of how many of these frames have replaced these other frames. This is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about how cool all these frames are, and then how do you choose, right? So Baruch is the monk frame that just is really angry all the time, so he's kind of like got some Incredible Hulk shit going on. So you gotta erode his restraint meter to get him calmed down enough to beat the fuck out of people, which pisses him off. So you're releasing his restraint and letting his inner anger out. So yeah, it's a good time. Atlas, rock boy. He turns people into rock. He punches them, gets armor from it, rinse and repeat. He's got a really, really stupid fourth ability. The rumblers are just dumb. But yeah, Atlas has gotten pretty damn good with the pseudo exalted rework too, by the way. Ash, the ninja frame, the true ninja frame. He is the I turn into smoke. I throw ghost ninjas. I kill you. Excalibur, OG Excalibur, right? OG Excalibur is so simply worked on the basis of you know, like I showed the build, right? I showed the build, but you know, like I've got, let's see here, shields, and then max energy at spawn. Like you would think that that is really, really, really stupid. There is a build that I have that is around that, okay? And it is this. Or no, it is not this. Is it this? Which one fucking is it? I changed something. I know I did. Oh, it was this build that I changed. That's what it was. Yeah, when the Exalted rework hit, I changed this build up. Because I didn't have Condemn on here. I actually had Nourish on here. I didn't have Chromatic Blade. I was just running Furious Javelin. And then this was a pure shield regen. I mean, this build was dramatically fucking worked over after the Exalted rework, and this build works very well. So, like, the shield shards aren't even necessary. Like, at all. Not in any fucking way. They're not. So, like, pretty much all the shards are unnecessary, so you can just kind of do whatever fuck you want to with it. It's a good time. But yeah. Excalibur is really good. The one thing that he lacks is survivability, right? It's the one thing that Excalibur suffers from is survivability problems. So how do you counter that? You put something on there to help him survive. Me, personally, I use Condemn. You use whatever you want to. You can just run Eclipse for 75% damage reduction. That works just fine, too. You put on there whatever the hell you want to put on there to make him survive better, and it'll do. Garuda, the Bloodletter. I still say that Garuda is like one of two frames that I still say Gloom is so much better on than her normal survivable ability, which is Blood Altar. Because basically you spike an enemy and you're just bloodletting that enemy to give yourself health. That's all fine and dandy. It's kind of like Wisp's, healing mode. The problem is that you're statically stuck to that location. The moment you step out of it, you're not healing anymore. Gloom, on the other hand, you put it in place of that and you're mobile, enemies are slowed down, and you can either go hacky slashy on people, or you can just use guns, or her fourth ability, then guns, or whatever, however you choose to do it. She's self-sufficient with energy by health, and again, Gloom lifesteals, so that's really not a big problem. There's a lot of fun with Garuda, so it's like, it's weird to see her all the way down this list like this, but it's just one of those, it's kind of a redundant playstyle, but it's a really good playstyle. Believe me, I play Garuda. I really do. Haro, another amazing fucking frame, completely self-sustainable by his own kit. The one thing that you can get rid of, it's kind of up to you if you want to. I mean, like, most of the time it's really not necessary, but Thurible, his third ability. That's literally the best one to get rid of. Yes, it regens energy for an entire squad as long as they're close to you, but it's kind of this god-awful sluggish animation of just praying like fuck, letting the energy numbers brew up to something quick and easy. His first ability, very good. Second ability, very good. Fourth ability, very good. Passive, start a mission out with full energy. Have a nice day. It's really good. Mirage. Ever since the lighting rework of Whispers in the Wall, Mirage got damn good. Now, Mirage was pretty good before, but the problem with Mirage was that Eclipse was very, very erratic. Would probably be the easiest way to put it. If you were in the shadow, you were fine. If you weren't in the shadow, you weren't so fine. Like, you get a bullet in the ass and you were dead. So Mirage was an interesting frame to run. Eclipse being worked over, and then the lighting rework in general because of the graphics engine change made her because she's like the magician frame, right? So her light based disco ball function does some real cool shit, especially when you armor strip. It just melts enemies anywhere in the range of the giant disco ball. Gauss. I say personally, Gauss and Gauss is better than, obviously, but Gauss and Lavos, my personal opinion, are probably, Gauss, Lavos, and Zephyr are probably the best three synergized kits in the game. Like, you can change shit on any one of those frames, but you're gonna lose something. Okay, so in the case of Gauss, it's really hard to say that there's something to take away from this, right? The passive is basically, as long as you're moving, you're charging the battery. Okay? I mean, that's the basic Cliff's Notes of the passive. Mach Rush, you're moving fast. Okay? What does movement do? Charges your battery. Kinetic Plating. As long as the battery meter is full, you have 100% ability strength, you have 100% damage reduction, which means you literally cannot die unless you let it run out, the battery meter run low, or the ability get nullified. So he just can't fucking die. His third ability, if you use the cold procs, you charge the battery. If you use the heat procs, you deplete the battery. It's pretty self-explanatory. Red line, everything go burr. Fire rate, attack speed, casting speed, reload time. Everything go burr. Very, very, very simple. Gauss is just so super synergized. It is crazy good. Crazy good. Nyx, since Nyx got reworked. Personally, I still use the Assimilate Augment because I like to, even though it's channeled ability, I still personally like that setup. But actually having radiation procs, actually having, like the Mind Freak Augment to really, truly buff the bejesus out of the poor bastard that you've, done mind control on. So this fucker is just doing crazy bullshit. But actually getting rad procs with chaos, actually, being able to steal overguard, excuse me, being able to steal overguard with Nyx now is a really good time. It's really kind of hard to get upset with how Nyx functions. A little boring at times, but boringly, methodically taking care of business. Anaros' rework, I personally like. Now, a lot of people kind of bitch about it. Well, some people kind of bitch about it. The truth behind Anaros' rework is that he got the one thing that he needed more than anything else, and it was the ability to heal. Now, that changed the shit out of the way that you built Anaros, because it used to just be a bunch of health, a bunch of armor, and arcane grace, and you were having a good time. He was a pure weapons platform. Yes, he could die. Took a lot to do it. Now, you don't have to be so worried about dying so much because you can just heal yourself by hitting the second ability. The only hiccup is that to get what you want out of him, you tend to kind of maybe, up to you on how you do it, but you kind of maybe you want to kind of tank the efficiency a little bit. So personally, I use Nourish, take care of that particular problem. I don't really mind the rest of the rework whatsoever. I think Anaros is perfectly fine. I just think that there are better unshielded frames in the game. Nidus, Kalervo. But if I have to run an Anaros is perfectly fine. Like, I have no problem. You give me an Anaros and ETA, bring it. I don't care. It's fine. It takes a lot to kill the fucker. Oberon, dramatic need of a rework, but still fun. Okay, there's ways to not die with Oberon, Phoenix Renewal. There are, in my particular case, there is ways to just basically make an encompassing level of irradiated grass at a very decent range, but still turn around and be able to armor strip, build up my own health with an arcane, keep a really good, duration, plus build my own shields on top of it. So, it's just like, and yeah, that looks goofy having a 9-point overextended, but it doesn't kill my ability strength too much, but it gives me, with the rest of the build, the full encompassing Garden of Death, right? The irradiated garden. You want that all the way around you because it's usually a cone, right? So it's all about the ability range. Thankfully, I had an extra overextended, which made that work. Don't worry, we're almost there. Dagoth, the ghost frame, the equestrian ghost frame, the headless horsewoman. Dagoth is good. Dagoth is good. And yeah, I even changed the primary away from the Sobek over to the Latron because I actually found that to be even funnier. Personally, I don't like her horses. And by dropping out and ditching her horses, I can actually drop her efficiency down and get more of what I want, which would be, let's not die, let's throw doom at everything, use Nourish as an extra damage output, and just fucking kill everything. Plus, if I need to use Weird Size, it's actually really good against Acolytes, by the way, slowing them down and just procking the piss out of Viral on them. Dagoth is a really, really good frame. She just really is. Mesa. Auto aimbot. I mean, it's her bread and butter. Is that the only thing she does? Absolutely not. She's also just good at survivability against anything other than melee. But in general, auto aimbot. Have a nice day. Side 09, sniper frame. I think Side 09 is a great solo frame. I think he's kind of dog shit in a squad unless you build for some survivability. Because inevitably, unless you just stay way behind the squad and let the squad do all the, kind of carry, or you can get ahead of the squad and you're a crack shot with headshots, staying invisible is a bit of a problem. So you need some level of survivability. Just saying. Necros. Necros suffers from core existing. Okay? But Necros is not crap. Okay? This build looks completely fucking stupid. Okay? Really does. No augment on here, no nothing. Just throw condemn. I threw condemn over the first ability. Yeah, it takes something away from Necros, but honestly, this is just more like a just general armor strip weapons platform type-esque thing with a little bit of survivability with his fourth, albeit the casting speed sucks even with shards. This is a completely serviceable build that works. It's not insanely great, but it works just fine for my playstyle. Steinex is what Steinex is, he's a Spartan frame, right? It's a good frame. It's a really good frame. Dante came out, completely fucking replaced his ass for the most part. So, it's kind of sad, because Steinex is really good. Again, like, I look at this and I go, which one of these frames would I not want to take? Like, I don't need to go through every single one, because, I mean, obviously, as you can see, like, my last week, I had, Citrine and I had Wukong. That's not a bad setup. Like, here, hold on. The whole loadout. Wukong with the Phantasma, the Lato, and the Arm Spinosa. We had the tank last week. Guess what I used on the tank? The fucking Lato. Guess what? The tank died. Good times. Right? Citrine. Coda Base Assist, the Incarnate Sikaris, and the Tomcat. First fucking week we get that damn thing. That damn weapon, and I get it. And I mean to tell you, I shredded it, especially that influence build against fucking, Murmur. Oh, yeah, just everything was dying. It's a good time. That and the mirror defense and the disruption, being what it was with everything can attack it. You throw the gem at the disruption tower, good night. Just keep proccing everything and kill everything. Nothing gets near it. But what frames, do I have a problem with? I've got a build for every one of these frames. Oh, I've got a survivability build for Limbo, for God's sakes. Is it great? No. It works. It's a pure shield regen build. I don't know why. That's exactly what it is. It's a pure shield regen build. It's casting speed, starting a mission with... excuse me, 2 shards for starting a mission with... excuse me, God almighty. Starting a mission with energy, so basically start out with max energy all the time and then putting Eclipse over the first ability for some extra added survivability, plus shield regen. So Arcane Aegis, Fast Deflection, Vigilante Vigor. The only thing missing out of this, just because I didn't want to throw a Forma at it, is Brief Respite, but that's fine. This is a funny-ass, just basically run around the map as a squishy weapons platform, for lack of a better way to put it. And I know that's a very loosely used term in Warframe. But, depending on the negatives of, EDA and ETA and shit like that, and for anybody who doesn't understand EDA and ETA, it's Elite Deep Archimedia and Elite Temporal Archimedia. So the top end of what is the present in-game style play. Depending on what the negatives are, some weeks suck. Because, between the weapons, the negatives, and then the negatives of the mission, they can make some frames really fucking hate existing. It's just no matter how good your builds are, sometimes you look at it and you go, oh, fuck me. The beauty is, though, like with Deep Archimedia, if you take all the negatives and all the weapons, you can just run whatever frame you want to. So depending on what the negatives are, you can run an Exalted frame. Dante is usually kind of my go-to for that one, actually. As long as it's not the negative 75%, energy. That one I have to go a different route. That one sucks. But yeah, there's so many options, and we haven't even touched weapons, and we're not gonna, because this video would be fucking 5 hours long if we did. But when I hear people complain about what's your main or what are your go-to frames, and I know I just did in May, late April, early May, I can't remember when I posted it now, but I just put up a video of, what are my main frames, right? Well, like I had the whole, these are my go-to frames for mission-specific stuff. I play all these frames randomly. I really do. Sometimes I just, I'm just like, what, I'm going to run 20-minute survival with Nyx. Why not? Just for the fuck of it. I'm going to go do it with Styanx. I'm going to run go run a disruption with Cyto 9. Sounds silly, but it actually works. So, just need some distance. Some distance and some doors to open at the right time. But yeah, no, it's pretty good. Or I'm just going to go Wolverine on, on an exterminate because I can. Or I'm just going to, run an hour with Rhino because why not? Drenka was right. Drenka was 100% right. And there's no amount of thanks that I could ever give Drenka that would ever fit to what that man taught me early on in this game, which was stop asking for so much advice and start answering your own questions. Now, he did give advice, don't get me wrong. He wasn't just like this pure shutout dude. But when the question really made you... The question should have made me think instead of just rely. That's when Drenka would answer with a question. And that's when I knew, okay, I got to figure this out. Like, he would lead. He would give hints, but he wouldn't give full answers because he wanted me to understand why something worked the way it did. And that's what I hope to, with the tutorial, guides and then, returning player guides and things like that. Like, especially returning players, they understand the basis of Warframe. All of you returning players understand Warframe. It's just systems have changed. Damage types, armor, the way armor works, and the way health scales, things like that. It's stuff like that that makes things go, oh, what the fuck did I just walk into? And then all these new frames and all these new weapons, incarnate weapons. People hadn't, they get into the game and they go, what the fuck is an incarnate weapon? Really good weapon. How do you get them? Highest fucking level of gameplay that you can play. And they go, look, I am not built for this. Don't worry. Answer your own questions, right? Look at the situation of what a frame wants, right? That's really the key behind everything. You look at a frame, at its statistics, at what the abilities do, apply a mod here or there to see what changes. So does this base off of health? Or, I'm sorry, does this base off of ability strength or range or duration? And then start messing about. Once you get the basic feel for what the frame really wants, then go play it at a low level. Just to make sure that you're kind of fitting that playstyle and then work it around and just tinker. It becomes a really fun process. After a while, you start realizing that you're just mopping motherfuckers up left and right. And you got there just by fucking around with a few mods here and there and just kind of seeing what modifies and seeing how it can fit your playstyle, which is why I have builds for everything here. I've got builds for all the equipped weapons. Like Kome is probably the loosest build that I have. And it's just because Kome is just not really my bag. It's a good frame. Not even gonna front. Kome has function. Just not for me. And that's fine. That'll probably change in the future. Knowing how DE does things. They're gonna put something out there that's gonna make me go, oh, fuck me, man, that's really good. Because they've done it with so many other frames. I just don't even question it at this point. I know eventually there's a really good probability it's going to happen. But I still think of what Drenka said. Once you accumulate so much crap in this game, you start to question, well, what do I use today? So that's why I do what I do, and that's why I do the builds that I build, because I enjoy making them the way that they are, making them fit in the way suits my needs. A big thanks to Drenka. I doubt he's going to watch this. He doesn't really watch much YouTube. And if there's anything that you guys want me to bust down and just give you my take on it, let me know. So folks, thanks very much for watching. As always, catch you in the next one. All right.